Thank you for being with us. Checkpoint on RNZ. The High Court has ruled that internet entrepreneur Kim Dotcom is eligible for extradition to the United States to face charges of copyright infringement and money laundering. This ruling also applies to his co-accused Bram van der Kolk, Matthias Ortman and Finn Batato. However, Mr Dotcom's lawyer Ron Mansfield told us at the start of the program tonight, exactly an hour ago this evening, the long-running battle is far from over and he will take the case to the Court of Appeal. He's predicting they will win in the end. And they did win one aspect of their appeal. For more on this, joining us now via Skype is Kim Dotcom himself. Kim, are you there?
Yes. Hi, John. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Nice to talk to you. So, what did you win?
Well, first of all, this is not a copyright case anymore, because under the Copyright Act of New Zealand, I can now not be extradited, and the title of the world's largest criminal copyright case has now been abandoned, and it's just a general fraud case.
Okay, and I'm reading from the notes the High Court has provided us with, because the decision, the judgment is about the size of 3 old phone books. But the High Court has found that the District Court decision in December 2015, finding that the appellants are eligible for extradition, was flawed. But, and this is the key but, the errors in the judgment were immaterial because there are available pathways for extradition on each count. In other words, you win but you still lose, right?
Yeah, we have won. Basically, the Copyright Act gives a safe harbor to ISPs and to me personally, and that safe harbor protected me from any kind of criminal liability for actions of our users. The court today found that that is correct. It has basically overturned the decision from the district court that I can be extradited for copyright infringement. And it's quite interesting. There are now 2 judgments that basically disagree with each other, but we prefer this judgment much more because we believe that in the next instant in the Court of Appeal, we can show that the general fraud statutes cannot be applied to this case. Copyright only exists because of the Copyright Act. If the Copyright Act wasn't there, there wouldn't be any copyright infringement. So you cannot just create a situation where you take any other law out of the book and apply that to my case. My indictment is for copyright infringement. And under New Zealand law, online copyright infringement is perfectly not a criminal matter. It's only a civil matter. And that has been clear today with this judgment. So we are actually quite happy with that part of the judgment. In the rest of the judgment, the judge errs, and we are going to correct that in the Court of Appeal.
And you say the judge errs. What the High Court has found is that a conspiracy to commit copyright infringement amounts to a conspiracy to defraud and is therefore an extradition offence listed in the US-New Zealand Treaty. In other words, this has gone from being a civil extradition to a criminal extradition, right? So you find yourself playing on a completely different field now.
Well, you know, don't you remember what happened in my case from the get-go? They are changing corners all the time, taking new turns. Every time they lose or are about to lose, they are twisting things around. Like the spying on me was really just a misunderstanding of the law, and John Banks didn't really not declare the donations. I mean, this government is as corrupt as it gets. I think my case demonstrates that.
Except this is the High Court, not the government. And what the High Court has said is, and the issue, and we discussed this with Ron Mansfield after 5 o'clock, is that the burden of proof for extradition is so low. It's simply that there is a prima facie case to answer. And what the High Court has said is, absolutely, you are correct. There is no extradition around civil proceedings. However, you're covered by the Crimes Act, right?
Yeah, but that is wrong, and I tell you why it's wrong. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that a criminal copyright charge cannot be replaced with a fraud charge. That is the U.S. Supreme Court saying that, and New Zealand is basically going the opposite direction. This judge is making new law, rendering the New Zealand Copyright Act completely illusory. It's not even existing anymore, because my indictment, if you look at it, all the charges are for copyright charges. And under the New Zealand law, there is no crime of what has been alleged by the US. So the dual criminality standard, which applies here, doesn't work. And now there is this workaround where miraculously some other statute can be applied to a copyright case.
Right,
and you need to understand that copyright wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Copyright Act. So if the Copyright Act falls away, there is simply no copyright, and therefore there can't be any charges for infringing on somebody's copyright.
So very clearly you're going to the Court of Appeal, and obviously you've only just got this decision and you're still working on what the grounds of the appeal are. But in short, what is it that you're going to take to the Court of Appeal?
Well, first of all, we're going to make clear that this is not a fraud charge. The indictment is not for fraud. The indictment is for copyright infringement. We're going to make clear that under the New Zealand Copyright Act, there is a safe harbor for websites like Mega Upload and for operators like myself against any criminal sanction for actions of their users. And if this judgment passes through, any ISP in New Zealand can now be labeled a fraudster for what users do on their sites. And I advise everyone to get a lawyer really quickly, because the Copyright Act of New Zealand is no longer going to protect you.
Kim Dotcom joining us from home this evening. So, the High Court has upheld part of the appeal, but said the substantive issue, which is around extradition and the requirement for the US only to prove a prima facie case exists, is satisfied by the fraud in the alleged offence, which is covered by the Crimes Act, setting aside the fact it is not satisfied by the civil case against Kim Dotcom and his three co-defendants, because that is not covered by the extradition treaty. And if you're confused, that is exactly that confusion that they will be fighting over in the appeal court.